Before I begin the presentation, I always like to take the temperature of the group. I want to know how much you know about pathways, because I want to gear my presentation specifically for you. So if you feel like you're just right up to snuff on pathways, hold up your hand. Well, I am excited. We have a chief ambassador in the room, Pamela McCown, and I expected her hand to go up. We also have Paula back there. She's right up with pathways. Is there anyone in the room who just basically knows something's coming? All right. So we've got the whole gamut. I will not be able to answer all of your questions today. There's not enough time for answering all of your questions. But hopefully, instead of answering all of your questions, I will get you inspired to ask more. And that's the purpose of this presentation, to get you excited about the possibility, to see the potential for this program, and to be prepared when it's time for you. For District 16 and all of Region 3, we're going to be in the 8th rollout, which will be sometime next fall. So we have about a year to prepare. During this time, preparation is key. If you're friends with me on Facebook, you know that recently we spent about 8 days in Istanbul. But we didn't just jump on a plane one day and take off. That preparation, for me at least, started in January of this year. Now for Tim, it started much earlier, because this was a childhood dream of his, to go to the Hagia Sophia in Istanbul. But in January, Tim popped his head into my office and said, "Linda, how would you like to go to Istanbul in October?" And I said, "Cool, I'd love to, let's do it." And he made the arrangements. But he did more than that. He did a lot of research. We got guidebooks. We studied online. He made preparations, how to get there, how to get around when we were in the city, the hotel we'd stay at. I, of course, took care of the packing. The important issue, what shoes to take. 2 pairs of tennis shoes, 1 pair of flats for traveling on the plane. We were good to go. But once you get there, it's more than just about the preparation. Once you get there, it's important to say yes to opportunities and to truly experience this event. I was faced with my first dilemma the first morning. I walked into the breakfast room, and it was a room about this size with tables all the way around the edge and in the middle. A Turkish delight breakfast. It was awesome, and I had to make a strategic plan. There were over 100 dishes facing me that I had never tasted before. So much food, so little time. I made a plan. From each table, I would take at least 2 things I had never tasted before to sample for breakfast. You can see, if you can see my plate there, that's what it looked like every morning. There's mushrooms, there's all amazing cheeses, fresh salads, fresh vegetables. Just an amazing display. And right at the top, you see a little square? That's my dessert, Turkish delight. I took 2 pieces of that every day. It looks like that day I cut back a little and only took 1. But I was interested in exploring Turkey to the max. And that's the way I hope you'll be about pathways. So today we're going to be talking about, first, basically what is pathways, what's in it for me, and then preparation is key for you as an individual and for your club. And then what kind of support are we going to be getting? I consider my Toastmasters experience in my club to be like a fish in a fishbowl. It's a protected environment. Do you feel safe in your club? You have support. The food comes in to the fishbowl. You are taken care of. But do you know that for goldfish, they only grow to the size of their container? Those goldfish that you see out in a pond in the open, the same goldfish as the little tiny ones in your fishbowl. What Toastmasters has provided for us is a larger bowl. The program that we have now has 68 competencies in it. And it's worked for all of us, hasn't it? Some people say, well, if it's not broken, why fix it? It's not that it's broken. It's a great program. We have become better communicators and better leaders because of the Toastmasters program. But how about Toastmasters on steroids? Over 300 competencies. Now, when I say this, some people get very intimidated. 300 competencies, I can't handle that. Well, it's like me at that Turkish breakfast. I didn't try to eat it all in one day. I took 8 to try all those things. So just one step at a time, but so many more possibilities available to you. So but the problem is, we're going to have to take the leap from that original fishbowl to the other one. And there's a small period of time when you feel like you can't breathe, because you can't, because the fish is out of water. When I first went to Windows, I had this reaction. I taught myself to program in DOS. Very comfortable in DOS. First time I touched a Windows program, my reaction was, get me out of here and get me back to where I know what I'm doing. And that could be the reaction of some of the members in our club. But the wonderful news is, if you push on through that, and I did, you'll be glad to know I'm not giving you a presentation in DOS, pushed through that, and I moved on to many new possibilities. And this is what Toastmasters has for us. And it's our faith in the organization that they are providing this for us, and it will be a really great thing. But it's more than just faith. They have asked us to help. The learning masters, the chief ambassadors involved input and feedback from Toastmasters to World Headquarters, and they listen to our responses. For those of you who know that this has been going on since 2010, do you know why it's taking so long? They're listening to us, and they're changing when we make suggestions. They've decided it's better to have it right than to have it fast. But it's coming, and it's going to be here next year. So the big question is, what's in it for me? Why do I want to move to the Pathways program? It's because of tailored learning. If you have the option of having a suit off the rack from JCPenney's or one from Savile Row where James Bond shops, which would you take? Something that's tailor-made, fit for you. 10 different pathways to choose from, paths to choose from. And within that path, some required subjects, but some electives, so you can tailor it even more for your particular desires. Tailored learning. Then we have transferable life skills. Those 300 competencies, wow, opportunities to grow in the direction you want to grow. And if you are looking to move up in your position, if your resume states, rather than advanced communicator gold, which is a great thing, and everybody in Toastmasters know how much work you've put into that, instead, what if you had proficient in team collaboration? Someone who's interested in hiring you will notice that, won't they? Well, maybe you can say, I'm not interested in moving up. Why should I do this? Team collaboration. Is this something that could be useful in volunteer work? In church work? What about at home? I have 5 kids. It's going to be life skills that are transferable to real life. And this is awesome about the program. Then we have access to materials 24/7. Have you ever lost a manual after you've done 3 speeches in it? Heartbreak, isn't it? You'll never lose a manual again. All you have to do is sign in, and if you forget your password, they can even take care of that. That's the greatest problem you would have. You will have access to your materials. And then expanded resources. You'll have the videos. There are 35 right now, and they'll be making more. They have interactive elements and resources that you can download to use both in Toastmasters and potentially in work and other areas. Expanded, and all of this is online. Then, more frequent recognition. Are you aware that fewer than 10% of our Toastmaster members complete a competent communicator? That's amazing, isn't it? Fewer than 2% complete a competent leader, and less than 1% go on to an advanced designation. This is something they're addressing with the new program, more frequent recognition. Do you know how many speeches you have to give to get recognition in the new program?
1.
3.
Oh.
3 speeches. Well, we're going to go a little further than 1. 3 speeches. Complete level 1. There are 5 levels in each path. When you complete level 1, you will get a badge, a digital badge that says 1 for it. After you complete 5 competencies, you will be proficient in that particular, 5 levels. You'll be proficient in that particular competency. And you will have a badge that says something like proficient in motivational strategies. That is awesome. But also, do you see this other little badge up here that says courageous? Now, Toastmasters tells me that badge is orange, but it looks kind of red to me, and I've always wanted a red badge of courage. But these are badges that you can give to fellow Toastmasters in your club. Everyone in your club will have access to everyone else's profile. Now, how much you want public is up to you. You can put stuff in there and then hide it. But if you want people to see everything, you can put it there. And they can go into your profile and give you a badge. If you were scared to give a table topic and you got up and you did it anyway, a badge of courage would be appropriate, wouldn't it? And we can encourage each other. And isn't that what Toastmasters is all about? Yeah. This is amazing, too. Then, enhanced evaluations. You will have an evaluation project every time you start a new path. It's in the first level. Because one of the really important things about Toastmasters is that we don't just get up and give speeches and everybody pats you on the back and says, oh, that was so great. And you know it wasn't. But they give you constructive feedback so you can get even better. And that's why we're here. So every time you start a path, you'll go through another project where you work on learning how to be a good evaluator. And not only that, how to receive evaluation. Have you ever gotten your feelings hurt because somebody gave you a bad evaluation? Have you had members in your club who left because of a bad evaluation? That works on 2 sides, doesn't it? The person who's not giving a good evaluation and the person who takes offense. So we're training in both areas. So enhanced evaluations are an important part of the program. Also, mentoring. There will be a project to help you develop mentoring skills in the second level of each path you take. Now, this is not just how to be a mentor, but again, how to be a mentee, how to get mentoring, how to accept mentoring. Plus, there are going to be guidelines for how to choose a mentor. So all of this is built into the program. Now, what's your plan for preparing? How many of you have not yet finished one, I know some of you have done 12, but not finished yet one competent communicator? Is there anyone here? Okay. How far are you right now? Someone? 4? 7? Project 7. Project 7, I would definitely recommend that you finish up your competent communicator designation before you jump over. For some of you, you still have time, even if you're toward the beginning, because it's going to be a whole year before it comes. And not only that, if you're content working with that and you have a goal for the old program, you'll have 2 years after the last rollout, so 2 years from the end of 2017 to complete any work you want to do in the current program. So you need to make a strategic plan. When should I jump? You can, if you like, jump and still work in the old program too. My plan, personally, is the day it rolls out, I'm going to jump to the new program, but keep my Competent Leader Manual and keep using that to get points and credit for our club. So it's your choice when you go. If you have the possibility of earning a DTM, it would be good if you want. I mean, it's our choice, but you might consider a plan. What do I need to do to complete that DTM? This has really reinvigorated my home club. We've had 2 DTMs since, it seems like forever. Well, it happens to be my husband and me, and nobody else was DTM. They were giving a lot of advanced speeches, but from this manual and that manual and pick and choose and not going anywhere in particular. But when the possibility of Pathways came out, they started thinking about what would it take to complete a DTM. I may have encouraged them a little bit on the side. 2 people have completed their DTM this year. 2 more people are coming along behind and say, I think we can make it, I think we can make it. And look what it's done for our club already, and it hasn't even rolled out. So think about what would be the best strategic plan for you. What should you do to make the most of this program? What will transfer? A lot of people are concerned about this. Will I lose everything that I've had before? Okay, let's talk about that. First, any designation that you have earned will stay in your profile. If you are still an ATM and haven't used the program since then, I hope you'll jump into Pathways straight away and get to work. But that ATM will transfer over. Now, my husband was a little upset when I was close to getting an advanced designation and they changed that program. He wanted me to be ATM because he thought he'd get money out of me. It doesn't work that way. However, if you're in the middle of something, and say you're working on your CC, or say a new member comes on and they've only given 3 speeches, should you tell them, oh, don't do anything until the new program comes? Are you kidding? What do you gain from doing just 3 speeches? Well, it's called confidence, for one thing. You're going to gain things, whether or not you have a little letters to write after your name, you are going to gain from the program. So use this program to the max till the Pathways comes, for sure. But what will transfer of what you've already done? Well, what will transfer will be things like district service. If you served as a district officer and you haven't already used it, you can't use it twice, you know. But if you served as a district officer, that will transfer to the new program. If you served as a club officer, that will transfer. If you have been a club sponsor, mentor, or coach, that will transfer. Those things will transfer into the new program. You're not going to lose any credit. Now, I'm a teacher, so I understand credit is important, and you will not lose any credit. But how will I access the program? The one thing that Sally Newell Cohen said the one thing they're concerned about is members logging in to begin the Pathways program. Now, when we were in Istanbul, we were met by more than one carpet salesman. The carpet sellers, they would watch for us and meet us daily and try to get us to come into their shop. Why did they want to do that? They'll sell us. They say, oh, I don't want to sell you a carpet. I just want you to see what I have. Well, this is going to be possibly the biggest issue with the rollout of Pathways, is people who aren't able or are fearful of going to their computer and signing on. They just aren't acquainted with it. So if you can help, if you already, excuse me, if you already do this, if you'll help your club members, or if you don't do this, if you'll help yourself, to sign on, get a username and a password, that will help just get you more comfortable with what this Pathways program is going to be. Now, if you are technologically savvy and you've never signed in before, these are the instructions from the Toastmasters website. Click Login at the top of your home page. Click on Forgot Your Password, enter your email address, and follow the instructions in the email you receive. Now, this seems fairly obvious to some of us. For others, I have broken down the process into 11 steps. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, with this handout will be at my campaign table, and if you're interested in it, for you or your club, it's also on my campaign website under resources. But I developed this, breaking it down into the 11 steps, because there are a few places that it's tricky if you've never logged on before. Yes?
Is this different than having logged on all this time?
No. So if you've logged on all this time, you're good to go.
We're good to go.
You're good to go.
It's not a new
Right. And so, and it's not intimidating for you because you've done it. But for people who are, some even fearful of working on computers, this can be very, very comforting to have exactly step-by-step instructions, what you do, where you do it, what you click on, what it looks like. And that's the best thing, isn't it? What it looks like. Instead of click login at the top of your home page, you know, where is that? And there's one point in the middle of the instructions where you come up with a screen and it's not clear what you do, and it's that little hamburger-looking thing at the top left-hand corner. If you're acquainted with that menu key, you know to click there. But otherwise, you could be lost. So this could be very useful. I tried this with my home club, and we had the gamut, just like we have here. People who went on the website all the time, people who knew how to but didn't do it, and then people who had never, ever logged in. You will bless your club members. You will help them and encourage them if you get them into the store. Get them into Toastmasters, because this is how you will access the Pathways. You'll need an email address to be able to use this program with Pathways. If you're someone who still likes to smell the paper, I confess I do, you can, from the program, print out the portions of the program that you want. So that you've got that access, but still have access to all the online materials. So they've got all different kinds. You want completely online, you can have online with printing some things out that you wish, or completely offline you can do. But I strongly recommend the online portion just because it's so much richer. All right. So this is what the portal to Pathways is going to look like. Let me stand out of the way here. When this comes up, the first thing you'll see on the left is the navigator. Now, the navigator is the equivalent of the new member kit. It will have in it, but again, new member kit on steroids. It will have in it instructions of how to get started in Pathways. It will have instructions of officer roles, member functionary roles, and it also has instructions of how to use the printed portion if you don't want to go online. Now, somebody in here has got to be fast enough to think, what's the problem with that? This is online. How are you going to read it? Good news, Toastmasters thought ahead too. Every club, the VPE of every club, will get a copy of this material. It will also be sent to the club in digital form, which can be sent out to all the members. So you will have access to the navigator. But the neat thing about having it here online is anytime you have a question, your answer is a click away. And that's really wonderful. Then, oh, and also, pardon?
Is there a question category?
Yes, and they have made 50 tutorials with the various questions to walk you through things. So yes. Then the next tile is choose your path. Now, if you have test anxiety, I personally, my husband is convinced, would study for an eye exam. So if you have any kind of test anxiety, I can relieve that anxiety for two reasons. Number one, I've taken this assessment. I was helping with the evaluation. And number two, it's not a test. It's not looking for your weaknesses, and so you'll strengthen those. It's looking for what you want to do. Well, isn't that a novel idea? Where would you like to grow? What are your goals? What are your desires? And it's not a blank sheet where you have to write an essay. It's a multiple choice thing. Of these things, which would you most like? Give us three of these that you'd most like to do. And after you finish the assessment, it will give you a possible path. Now, there are a few of you who, well, when I took this assessment, they said that 94% of us agreed with the path they gave us. My reaction, I'm ready to start tonight, but they wouldn't let me. But 94% of the people agreed. 6% weren't satisfied with the path they received. So if you're one of those 6%, guess what you get to do? Choose another path. Have I told you that Toastmasters is an organization where it's volunteer and we choose what we want to do, and we choose what path we take, and we choose how fast we go? We choose another path, and that's perfectly acceptable. Well, how do you know what path to choose? You will get to see an overview of all of the 10 different paths. And you can look through that overview and say, I think I'd like to try this one, and just click on it and take it. Now, you can't get halfway through a path and say, oh, I changed my mind, I want to go something else. No, once you've committed to it, then you'll stay with that path. But for you overachievers out there, you can actually do 2 paths at once if you want to. Now, what about the charges for this? And I may be jumping ahead, but for the charges, there's a $20 charge when you first, like the new member fee. And for that $20, you get access to the Pathways program online, and you get your first path. Every time you want another path, it costs $20. If you want it completely offline, in addition to that $20 new member fee, you'll pay $25 to get the printed version. And that makes sense because they're going to have to print it out. So it's cheaper to do it online, but it's also much more exciting. So you choose your path. And once you've chosen your path, you can click on Pathways Basecamp. And when you do that, this is the screen that comes up. In Pathways Basecamp, there are 5 different tiles that you see that you can click on. The first one is Navigating Basecamp. And this is something you can come back to. You know, how do I get around? What do I do? Yes, ma'am?
How long are is a pathway? How long does it take
how long does it take? They said they think about 1.5 years to do,
what?
for an average, for do one path. It'll have 14 different projects in it. Each project will have at least 1 speech. Some will have more than 1. But it's exciting things. Like one of the things I did when in the content pilot was I kept a positivity journal for 2 weeks. When was I feeling positive? When was I down? What was causing it? The triggers and that sort of thing. So there are projects that you do, sometimes things outside of the club, as well as the speeches that you make in the club. But each project that you do has at least 1 speech in the club. But another beauty of this is that currently for the DTM, some people don't get to DTM because they can't figure out what they still need to do. It's an HPL over here, and you know, and all those different things. This path it shows you the path. There's no question of what you do. And when you first call it up, you'll see all of the projects in level 1. You'll see an overview of levels 2, 3, 4, and 5. Then when you complete level 1, then you'll get all of the projects of level 2, and you'll still see the overview of the others. So it just takes you from one thing to the next. You know what you're going to be doing next. It's not a question of where should I be going now. And that's another beauty of the program. Okay, so navigating Basecamp. In Basecamp, you set up your profile. Now, Toastmasters will provide some of that information, all the awards you've received, and that includes the current awards that you've got, how many years you've been a Toastmaster, all that sort of thing. But you can add information too, and you can make it public for everybody in your club to see, or you can make it private. So that's where your profile is. Then, my education transcript is the next one. That's where the path resides. You click on that, you'll open up the path, and there's your projects to be working on. My feedback, this is where you as a club member can ask other club members for feedback. I served as timer today. George, did I do okay? You know, something of the sort. And you can ask specific people for feedback, or you can ask the club for feedback. If you're wanting to grow as a leader or as a communicator in any way you want to grow, you can ask for feedback from your club. And then that feedback you get, you can make it private if you don't want anybody else to know. Or you can leave it for everybody to see. So this is encouraging, supporting each other in the club. And that's part of that mentoring, isn't it? To support and help each other in the club. Then my badges, that's where all the badges you'll see that you earn as you complete the levels, but also the badges that your fellow members are giving to you. And then speech evaluations. Every project has its unique evaluation because you're going to be evaluating according to the competencies that you're working on, the skills that you're developing. And you can tell your evaluator which project it is. They can go into Basecamp and download your evaluation form. I would recommend that you do it also. How will the meetings change? How will the meetings change? The format, not at all. But you know how the meetings will change? More dynamic. During the transition time, these are just for the six education credits. Those are going to go away. So we've got 6 credits from the DCP. Notice 4 level 1s. If you have 4 people in your club who do 3 projects each, that will get a point for your club. So it's in terms of levels. But the neat thing is during the transition, you can mix and match. Now you can't do all 12 and say you're a 12 club. You choose 6, any 6 of those from either path, any 6, and you will get your 6 education points. And that's why I'm going to jump to Pathways, but I'm going to keep on using my CL manual so I can help my club out right here. Then, quickly, the new path to DTM. Completion, as Pamela says, 2 learning paths. Club officer for 12 months, it used to be 6, and this will be in the handout. Now, this is interesting. The club mentor or coach and the sponsor have been divided. We all know that it's easier to be a club sponsor. Well, now you're going to have a little more skin in the game here. You'll need to serve as a mentor or coach, and then club sponsor or speechcraft or youth leadership. District officer for 1 year, and this is interesting, the Capstone DTM project. This is all about developing skills and using those skills. So you're going to develop a project to demonstrate the skills and expertise you've gained in the 2 learning paths. This is an amazing DTM. We have not diluted the DTM designation at all. And then quickly, the last point is we're going to need help doing this. Well, there are going to be pathways done.